Order. Question number 6, the Right Honourable Winston.
Mr Speaker, this question is to the Prime Minister and asks, given his answer to question 1 yesterday, how does he stand by his statements?
The Right Honourable Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
Vertically.
Yeah, challenged. Supplementary questions, Speaker.
Order. Order. Now we will return to a supplementary question from the Right Honourable.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. When the media of the small Mediterranean island of Malta claim, and I quote, the New Zealand Foreign Trust regime is a sacred cow of New Zealand law, a veritable Fort Knox of asset protection, end of quotes, are they wrong and he right?
The Right Honourable Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
the member is referring to the legislation that created the rules around foreign trusts that he voted for.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order.
Speaker,
Right
I'm
Honourable
asking
Mr.
the Prime Minister for an answer that concerns him and his behaviour yesterday.
If the question was clearer, I'd attempt to help
Well, I'll
the
say
member.
it very slowly.
Order. I had some difficulty hearing the question at the start because of interjections. So on this occasion, I'll invite the member to ask the question. I hope it's in line with standing orders, and then we'll proceed to the answer.
Why do you say that?
Right Honourable Winston Peters.
When the media of the small Mediterranean island of Malta claim, and I quote, the New Zealand Foreign Trust regime is a sacred cow of New Zealand law, a veritable Fort Knox of asset protection, end of quotes, are they wrong and he right?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, on the advice I've had, yes, because of they are wrong because of the disclosure regime New Zealand has.
Right to always be right.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question. Right Honourable Winston Peters.
If his acquaintance, the Prime Minister of Malta's Chief of Staff and his Minister of Energy, avail themselves through the Rotorua Trust and the Haas Trust of this Fort Knox, are they also wrong and he right?
There's no ministerial responsibility for that. Further supplementaries? Supplementary question. Right Honourable Winston
When the
Peters.
Massey University's Deborah Russell says it's shameful for New Zealand to be caught up in international tax avoidance, the loophole in our laws that allows New Zealand Foreign Trust to escape taxation has been known for years, but nothing has been done to shut it down. This makes us complicit in schemes to avoid tax, end of quotes.
Order.
Is she also wrong and he right?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, the OECD in 2013 gave New Zealand the highest rating possible in this area, compliant. We're following the rules that were established, voted for by that member. If the member wasn't coming to the House with big crocodile tears today, he would have voted against the legislation in 2006.
Question. Order. Question